Hey everybody, welcome to episode 14 of Big Game Talk with Brad and Chris. I'm Brad, that's Chris over there. We got a packed episode today. We talk about the NFL draft. We have an interview with Sam Alvey, UFC vet, and going to be the first fighter to compete on the May 9th UFC 249 card coming out of quarantine. And we got some other sports stuff down the end of the episode, like sports hypotheticals.
And if you want any of these sections, like if you, let's say you're not super interested in the NFL draft, you want to listen to the Sam Alvey interview, we got timestamps in the description so you can skip ahead, skip around the episode, find the sports content that you are looking for. We're also going to be releasing the Sam Alvey interview just on the YouTube on the same day as this video. So if you want to just check that out, by all means, just click over to that video. I'll have a link to it right up here.
And hit the music. All right, everybody. So we got to do kind of the obligatory weekly quarantine update. So, Chris, anything new in your life?
Absolutely nothing.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's about the same over here. You know, just going through the motions every day, just trying to get to the end of this. We kind of had that light at the end, like not light, but the NFL draft was finally some live sports stuff. It wasn't games, but gave us something. I mean, they ended up being the most watched NFL draft of all time. So we weren't the only people that were excited for it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. It was nice to have a live sporting event. Just something like everybody's watching at the same time. Twitter was a lot of fun. And just, yeah, it was a really fun night. And I mean, if you're Joe Burrow, how cool is it to be the number one pick in the highest watched draft? Like, that's some great exposure. All these guys, really great opportunity for exposure here.
The only thing is they had to get hammered in their parents' house after they were drafted.
Yeah,
that being able to hit the clubs.
That would be a little bit more awkward and not as cool. But, yeah, that's the one downside. You get the extra exposure, but you are at home and you can't even have your friends around you because of the quarantine, social distancing. I don't know, like, and the Twitter world was like watching you like a hawk to make sure, because it's like the church of social distancing. Like there's so many rules and stuff. Like anytime someone sees a picture on the internet, people not social distancing, they lose their minds. Mm-hmm. So you had to be real careful not to piss anybody off with how many people were in your house and stuff. So
yeah, it was it was interesting to watch people scouting their social distancing techniques. And so you want to get right into the NFL draft, talk about that. I mean, before we get into some of the top picks, you want to just tell us how your Giants did?
Yeah, I think the Giants did pretty well. Like people are going to criticize them for the number one, the first round pick of Andrew Thomas. He was a guy that I thought they were going to get. He was my pick, but I thought they were going to trade back around 7 to 10 and get him. So this may be a repeat of the Daniel Jones thing. They could have got him a lot later. They went with him with their first pick. So there's going to be criticism for them. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy because they picked up with Andrew Thomas, and in the third round they picked up Matt Pert, both really capable offensive tackles. And like finally after years, like as long as we've been friends watching football games together, longer than that, the Giants O-line has been the biggest problem on the team. Yeah. And it was really it's unfortunate that they didn't get this done while Manning was still playing, because I mean that was really like his last few seasons. He didn't perform as well as I would have hoped, but a lot of that was because he had no protection. Yeah. So now it's a situation where they finally Gettleman was like, we're going to once and for all, that's what he said. He said, we're once and for all fixing this. And that's what he did. So I think it's successful in my books.
And you also had that Xavier McKinney, the safety, come out in the second round that many people thought was going to be like a mid first round pick too.
Yeah. He was a great pick. I was super happy. Probably the best safety in the draft. So you can't go wrong picking a guy like that in the second round. Mm-hmm. Really, I think he's going to be a good chance to kind of come in a few plays in the start of the season. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. And so overall, pretty good draft. I'm just so excited for this O-line because Jones is going to get protection and Saquon Barkley is going to get some openings to just hustle through, like because of these O-line. Andrew Thomas the tank engine. You heard it here first, folks.
I love it. Yeah, I think the Giants did a good job. I think the Thomas pick maybe was a bit of a reach. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, if that's your guy, that's the one that you wanted. you can't take the chance of not getting him. And a lot of people are saying that he might be the most NFL ready tackle coming out. And with a young QB like Daniel Jones, you got to protect him right away. You don't have time to wait.
Yeah, we don't have time. If the Giants are in a position to win, the O-line needs to be ready to go week 1. And I think Thomas.
Yeah. Saying the Giants are in a position to win, you might be a few years early on that.
But hey, you always want to be in a position to win. If you want to be, let's say it like this: if the Giants want to be in a position to be competent this year, the guys they drafted for O-line are going to need to be ready week 1, and that's what they're getting with Thomas.
For sure. Now, my Patriots, they had a very Belichick draft, but it was a weird one, a very weird one. I mean, they traded out of the first round, which most years they do. I mean, the first pick of the draft, second round, number 37, they took Kyle Duggar, who is a D2 safety. Very odd pick. Mm-hmm. I mean, he probably, knowing Belichick, it's probably going to turn out to be an absolute stud, but it's a very weird selection. Now, they kind of had the Josh Uche, if that's how you say his last name, out of Michigan in the second round as well. I really like that pick. He's played with Chase Winovich, who's another defensive end on the Patriots. So there's some kind of experience together there. I think that'll work out really well. They got some depth. But there's some weird picks here. They took a kicker in the 5th round who, that's okay. You get your specialist after they release Gostkowski. But this Jake Fromm was still on the board at QB. Now, do I think he could have came in and started? Probably not. I mean, Stidham's probably still better than him. But you got to fill up the QB room. Right now, you only have Stidham and Hoyer there. Mm-hmm. So, why are you taking a kicker that you could probably get the next round when Fromm's still on the board? Just fill up the QB room. Brady's gone. You got to just get anybody in that you can until you find not the next Brady, because there'll never be another Brady, but your next franchise QB. So to me, this shows. I think one of the biggest winners of this draft was Jarrett Stidham, because he's the starter next year unless they go out and do something in free agency.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. What do you think the fact that they didn't draft a QB here is a sign that Belichick has something and Kraft have something in the works?
No, I think that says is that they think Stidham's better than any QB that they could have reasonably taken in this draft.
That's fair.
Because who they could have taken, they weren't going to be able to go up for Tua or Herbert, or certainly not Joe Burrow, and they must have better grades on Stidham than Jordan Love and any of the rest of them. Mm-hmm. I figured too that they would take somebody near the back end like Eason, Morgan, or Fromm to be a backup. I figured that because Hoyer's not he's serviceable as a backup, but not long term. So I thought that they would bring in a backup that could maybe compete against Stidham. But I mean, I put my trust in Belichick at the end of the day. So whatever he thinks is best.
And Belichick puts his trust in his dog.
Yeah, Nike. Do you see his dog's name's Nike?
I wonder if it's sponsored.
I hope so. But no, so the Patriots had a weird draft, but it's one of those ones where they hit the field, they could be just an absolute bunch of studs. I'm interested to see the D2 safety, how he turns out as well, especially considering the Pats right now, McCourty and Chung are getting old, but they're still there in starting spots. So it's not like he's going to really have a starting spot right away unless maybe they don't bring Chung back.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair. All right, so Brad, you did pretty well in your predictions for the top 5 picks last week.
Top six.
Top 6, okay. Top 6
yeah,
pick.
If you guys check out the last pod, I essentially called the top 6. I mean, the Giants pick I kind of was vague on. I said they were going to take an O-lineman, and they did. But other than that, I was pretty much right on every one.
I mean, you put money on Thomas.
That is true. Plus 800 was a little bit of a nice payday. But I can't take the credit. Yeah, that was you. You told me about that. But you told me they were going to trade back and get him. So I was a little scared on that 4th pick.
That was scary. That was because really I was well, not really for me because money wasn't on it. But I was thinking about you with money on Thomas. And then it was the clock was wearing down. They weren't trading. Then the pick went in. I was like, oh, Brad just lost his money. And then all of a sudden they draft Andrew Thomas. I was like, well, not bad, but that's kind of funny that they actually picked him.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to go through some of the top picks here and just give our kind of thoughts on it?
Yeah, let's go. So number 1, Cincinnati picks No, I'm just kidding. Joe Burrow went to Cincinnati round 1. I think everybody was expecting that one.
I mean, what a hell of a year for Joe Burrow. He starts the year going to LSU. LSU wasn't expected to do very much. He was maybe going to be like a third, fourth, or a later pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has a Heisman Trophy season, wins the national championship, goes first overall at Cincinnati. What a hell of a year.
Yeah, it's crazy year. And he seems like a good kid. I think he put out a good, like, he just really shows his character in those interviews and stuff like that. Really cares about Ohio. So it's exciting to see him come out of there, a Cincinnati Bengal.
Yeah.
I think you're pretty happy if you're a Cincinnati fan right now. This
100%.
definitely doesn't fix everything, but it really gets you back in the right spot to start winning.
Yeah, I just hope, like, Cincinnati, like, hopefully no Cincinnati fans are listening, because I mean, they're not a great organization. Like, that's fair to say. So I hope that they kind of pick things up and help Joe Burrow, because, like, I hope he doesn't get ruined by them.
That's fair.
The number 2 pick, Washington Redskins, took Chase Young out of Ohio State. This was, again, very chalk pick, very expected. But I mean, it's the right pick.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that, like, this was a very predictable first few picks here, and they all make sense, really.
Yeah. Like, Chase Young, best pure football player coming out of this draft class, in many people's opinions. And, like, Washington, this is a position of strength already on the edge rusher for them, but you can't pass on him. You got to take him.
You got it.
Especially when they already had Dwayne Haskins. They took him early in the first round last year as a QB, so they weren't in a QB needy position.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
The third pick there, Detroit Lions took Jeff Okudua out of Ohio State. And this again was a very chalk pick, but to me, like, I think he's a stud. I think it's high for a cornerback.
It's very high for a cornerback, and I get that you want to boost the defense and stuff like that, but I feel like there was better. If you were looking to boost your defense, there was better defensive players out on the board. Cornerbacks, just a weird position to go through number 3, but hey, good for Jeff.
Yeah. And then at number 4, we already talked about Andrew Thomas going to the Giants, coming out of Georgia. Number 5, Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama to Miami. There's a little bit of intrigue in this where people thought that maybe Miami was going to go with Herbert instead. And then there was talk real close up into the draft that Miami was talking about trading up for an O-lineman. Obviously, that was just kind of out of left field. Didn't make any sense when people were saying it. Obviously, didn't come through. But I think this is the right pick here. I mean, Tua, if it wasn't for injury concerns, like, he probably gets taken. Like, they would have had to trade up to 2 or 3, probably.
Yeah, you almost wonder, like, with Miami saying they're gonna like O-linemen go for, they're almost trolling the Giants to get them make their pick early. Maybe there's a little bit of psychology going into that just move, saying, oh, like, maybe if you trade back, Giants, we're gonna trade up and take the OT guy that you want. So maybe that
blocks the Chargers from trading up to take Tua out from underneath them.
So it's actually a pretty smart move. All this mind games that the Miami's playing, and they end up with Tua. So I think that's good. I don't think he's going to play right away. It's going to be a little bit, but
you don't think? I think he's got a chance to play right away.
Yeah,
if he's healthy. But that's the thing with him: is he healthy?
Yeah, that's the big question mark. Like, is he going to be healthy? Because that really, I mean, maybe he's higher in the draft if he was healthy.
If he's healthy, I think he goes at. They would have to trade up to 2 or 3 to take him. And then number 6, LA Chargers took Justin Herbert out of Oregon. So, I mean, this is, again, a very expected pick. They lost Phillip Rivers. Their only QB in the room right now is Tyrod Taylor. I think realistically, you probably start Tyrod Taylor, have Herbert sit this year out, come in the year after. Herbert, I don't think he's going to be an excellent QB. I think he's a very serviceable QB. He's probably going to be along the lines of Phillip Rivers, where he's going to be there for years. He's not going to do anything special for you, but he's going to be good enough to win you football games and make the playoffs here and there.
And that's really the Chargers status quo. So, That's the thing. I don't really care for the Chargers, so I'm happy to see them do that. Maybe I just don't care them because of Phillip Rivers. I think it's a lot to do with Phillip Rivers. So maybe things change in the Justin Herbert era.
Justin Herbert's a lot more likable than Phillip Rivers.
Yeah,
he's a good kid.
So I think that's a good change if you're gonna franchise. If you're a Chargers fan, you're almost happy. Get the dead weight Phillip Rivers out of here. Get a fresh face in there.
But the thing is, though, is like, did Chargers fans, like, were they in love with Phillip Rivers? Because I feel like they might have been.
I feel like they were, but like, just because they're assholes too.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, and then how many Chargers fans did they follow them to LA, or did they get pissy and switch franchises?
I mean, it's not that far. It's not that far at all. I mean, LA to San Diego. It's not like you're making a move across. Like it's.
But if you live in San Diego and they move, like, you might get a pissy on and switch teams.
Yeah, and you're probably just looking for a chance to switch teams.
Yeah, because what other teams are around there? Like San Francisco.
Yeah,
the Rams and stuff, who have had pretty good runs lately. So.
Yeah, and that's good opportunity to change things up.
Mm-hmm. Now, who was one of your biggest winners from this draft?
Biggest winners. That's I like
not the Giants.
Not the Giants. I think Cincinnati. I think to go with the obvious one, to pick up Joe Burrow. I think that it just kind of everything fell in place that they're the first round. Joe Burrow's just had a fantastic season. I think he's going to carry that over. I think he's a good kid. Yeah. I think the Bengals, I'm excited to see them play. And I think there's just so much eyes on Joe Burrow, and with how big this draft was with everybody watching, more so than a usual draft, to have the first round pick and have a guy as popular as Joe Burrow is a huge boost for your team.
One of my big winners, I think, is the Miami Dolphins. I know this was kind of easy for them to be a big winner here because they had so many early picks. Mm-hmm. Pick Tua, that was your franchise QB. In the first 5 picks, of Miami's picks, they took Austin Jackson, tackle, at number 18, and Robert Hunt, another tackle, at 39. So immediately they're addressing that need where it's like Tua can't be hit very much. So they're going to shore up that. They got some other stud defensive players to build around. And if you're Miami, they've already had a good offseason with some of these free agent signings. They need to just bring in pieces. They need to fill holes and just kind of start being serviceable. Now that the AFC East is has a chance to open up a little bit, with the Patriots taking a step back, I think they had a really good draft. That's
fair. Now, biggest losers.
Well, any other big winners? Because I was going to say, I think Arizona was a big winner here too.
For sure.
They had Isaiah Simmons follow them at number 8. It was Josh Jones in round 3 at tackle, who a lot of people had a first round grade on, and really there was no reason for him to drop. So you're picking up, they had 2 guys fall to them that they probably didn't expect were they're studs, right?
Yeah.
So I think Arizona did a good job here, especially with they got their QB in place with Kyler Murray, and they're starting to build. And they didn't need a wide receiver. They went out and got DeAndre Hopkins, so they've had a solid offseason so far. So I think Arizona could be a sneaky team next year.
Mm-hmm. And also, thinking about winners, Dallas picking up wide receiver CeeDee Lamb in the 17th round. It's not like CeeDee Lamb 17th pick. Oh my goodness, sorry. 17th pick. It's not like he was free falling that much, but still, he was projected to go earlier than 17. You could see Jerry Jones was just grinning ear to ear when he was able to pick up the phone and say, we picked CeeDee Lamb. I don't think he was expecting to be able to make that pick, and he jumped on the opportunity. So I think Dallas, you're a big winner. It's an extra weapon for Dak Prescott in the future. So you got to be feeling good if you're the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, there was 3 top wide receivers in this draft. You had Lamb, Judy, and Ruggs. A lot of people had Lamb being the top one, then Judy, and then Ruggs. But it was really between Judy and Lamb for who is the best. And you had Ruggs going first, and then Judy coming off. So yeah, especially if the Dallas Cowboys had Lamb high on their draft board as probably the number 1 wide receiver, they were thrilled that he fell.
Yeah, just like smiling. Just imagine the tension, like getting into the 14, 15, 16 pick, and you're still up on the board. You're just like, Denver's looking for a wide receiver. And imagine just the excitement on Jerry Jones's face when Denver goes with Jerry Jeudy. If CeeDee Lamb was the guy they were really looking for. I know he was the last of the top three. So maybe they
Yeah.
had their eyes on one of the two and just got, but if they wanted, if they were looking for CeeDee Lamb, I mean, that's what they got. I got to be feeling pretty good. And I
And
wonder
honestly, too, like one of the big winners for them, part of taking him is Philadelphia was sitting at 21, and they need, like, it's very well known that they needed a wide receiver. The fact that they didn't try and move up to Atlanta's spot at number 16 when they saw that CeeDee Lamb was still on the board and the Cowboys are to take that from a division rival is a huge get as well.
Yeah, and the Eagles had to go with Jalen Reagor, who's still pretty good, but
he's a reach at 21.
Yeah, he's a reach. And yeah, the top three went pretty quick, or not pretty quick, but they were gone.
Yeah,
within like 20 rounds, or 20 picks.
Yeah, exactly. So it's Cowboys kind of stuck it to a division rival and got themselves a stud.
Yeah.
So that's winner there. So who's your first loser?
First loser, I would say Aaron Rodgers, because man, did Green Bay really kind of go again? Like, I mean, he has no weapons next year. He's got absolutely nothing.
They took his predecessor in the first round.
Yeah, they took Jordan Love, management for Green Bay was smiling, grinning ear to ear when they drafted Love. Aaron Rodgers probably almost threw the remote through the TV, looking at his GM just grinning like that after finding his replacement. Man, if you like, I get that you want to plan for the future, but my understanding was that the Packers were in a position to do pretty well this season, and you want to just you want to give Aaron Rodgers people that can play now, people that can win now, and some weapons, and they just didn't do it. It was all planning for the future. And so if you're Aaron Rodgers, you're sitting at home, it's like, what, did I miss a meeting or something? Are we just calling it quits for this era? Like, am I done now?
Green Bay was in the conference finals last year.
Yeah. Like,
and Aaron Rodgers on record too, about a week before the draft, said, like, we haven't taken somebody's skill position in years. Be nice to do that this year. And then they go out and say, yeah, let me take Jordan Love. Man, and then they took a running back that was honestly a stretch in round 2. It's got a lot of wear and tear on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like or like, honestly, anything but like Jordan Love could be there honestly could be another. This is very reminiscent of when they took Aaron Rodgers when Brett Favre was still there. They're around the same age, but so long term it could look good. But for right now, it's a tough look for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it's very, very rough. And I mean, yeah, you go back to when Rodgers was drafted. I think it was the 26th overall pick in his draft, and that was when Brett Favre had a couple years left, very similar to Rodgers' current situation. Yep. And you had a great point. Is Aaron Rodgers going to not train or not take Love under his wing? Like, Favre didn't take him under his wing. It's just, I feel like there's going to be some drama. I think this is one of the biggest stories coming out of the draft, really, if in terms of intrigue, what actually went behind this pick. What's the situation between the relationship between Rodgers and the management team? It's just like it makes very little sense to me. Like, I get Aaron Rodgers is in in the last legs of his career, but at the same time, like, as you said, like, they were in a conference final last year. You're in a position to win next year. What are you doing? Like, you're thinking completely about the future. If I'm a Packers fan, I don't know how I feel. Like, one hand, you're happy that they have something lined up for after Rodgers, but at the same time, you want to see some more Rodgers, and you want to see him on the field at his best with weapons, with wide receivers that he can play with, because that's really this is the last push. If you're a Packers fan, you want the Packers to go all in for Aaron Rodgers' last few years, because that's the send-off you want to give to a guy who's been a star and just loved by the fans in Green Bay.
Yeah, best case scenario for Green Bay fans right now is that Aaron Rodgers sees Jordan Love come into the building, realizes how hard it was on him when Brett Favre didn't take him under his wing.
Yeah.
And decides to really kind of train Jordan Love. I think that's best case scenario, because really, if Jordan Love turns out to be a stud, Green Bay is going to look at a stretch where they went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. And you know what I mean? So like not many teams can do that go the QB to QB with just absolute studs. So they got the chance to do that here. So long term is good, but you gotta put it all on the line, I think.
And the thing is, like I said, you asked me who's the biggest loser, and I said Aaron Rodgers. I didn't say specifically the Green Bay Packers, because and a lot of people are saying that the Packers overall were a loser for not thinking about next season in their draft. But what gives me pause on that is just to think that, you know, the situation that drafted Aaron Rodgers is very similar to this situation. So I think we won't know how if the Packers were a winner or a loser for many more seasons to come. But we may look back on this and say this is one of the best draft moves in Packers history, along with like pairing it with the Aaron Rodgers getting after Favre. Like it's just like one of those things, like, because that's a great point. How often are you getting 3 franchise QBs strung one after the other, not just franchise QBs, but like all-time greats among the all-time greats?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Jordan Love's shoulders, but he's got some years to work into it. And I mean, that leads right into, like, we're going to talk about biggest surprises in the draft. I think that's one of them right there. Like, other than that, was there any massive surprises on your end there?
For me, like, I was just, and we've talked about this, I was shocked that the Patriots didn't go with the QB. Like, that just didn't make sense to me. Like, I understood, like, when they traded back out of the first round, I said, okay, you get an early second rounder. It's something the Patriots usually do. That wasn't surprising. But when they didn't use that first pick for a QB, I was really shocked, especially when Fromm was on the board. That, like, I thought Fromm, as he was kind of falling down, I thought he was definitely going to get scooped up by Belichick. It would have been a Belichick move to just wait on Fromm and everybody's passing on him and then scoop him up. Because
like in the spots that they were at, they had opportunities for Jordan Love, Eason, James Morgan, Jake Fromm. They were all readily available, and they passed on them. And I mean, that is like, they must not have had good grades on them.
Yeah, you know,
and like I mean, you look at the past two, like we talked about earlier, taking the D2 safety. So as soon as they do that in the second round, you're like, this is going to be a weird draft.
And the funny thing is, I mean, McKinney was drafted by the Giants like a pick ahead. So I wonder if they were looking like at McKinney and they were kind of hoping for him, and then the Giants came in. So Giants, let's go. We got the better safety.
Well, we'll see in the long run.
We'll see. Yeah, well, right now it's looking pretty good for the G-men.
Another shock, too, is that Henry Ruggs going at number 12 to the Raiders. We kind of touched on that he was, in a lot of people's opinions, the third best wide receiver. To be the first one off the board,
yeah,
that's pretty shocking.
Yeah, and I mean, wide receiver, we didn't see a wide receiver until the 12th pick. So that just goes to speak to, I mean, offensive tackles really there was a lot of good ones, a lot of linebackers, like, and the cornerback, like, at round 2 or at pick 2, it was kind of funny draft that way.
Yeah. And then the Eagles taking Jalen Hurts in the second round. That was odd. I mean, Jalen Hurts, I think he could be serviceable QB. That's a big iffy. He was a stud in college, but I don't know how well his game translates to the pro game. And then to stick him behind Carson Wentz, especially with your second round pick on him, I don't know how I feel about that if you're an Eagles fan.
Yeah, I didn't think they really needed any spots at QB. Like, that didn't make sense to me.
But you got Wentz there.
Yeah, you got Wentz.
He's not going to even touch his starter spot. So you're wasting a second round pick on somebody that, I mean, not like, backup QB is an important position, but I mean, is Jalen Hurts the guy that you want, and you want to spend your second round pick, especially when you're needy at a lot of other positions?
Yeah, you know, and me as a Giants, I'm like, please take a guy that you're not gonna use. Use your second round pick by all means, Eagles. Like, so I was pretty happy with that pick. It didn't make sense to me, but hey, they got a guy to ride the bench with their second round pick. Not bad, the Eagles. Good job.
The only thing I could think is that with Carson Wentz's injury problems, maybe they're thinking that they need somebody.
But yeah, well, I mean, like, because think about Foles, right? What he did from the bench for the Eagles. So maybe it's kind of one of those things where they kind of said, okay, a backup won us the Super Bowl. Let's put, then it makes a little bit more sense. Then it starts to make a lot of sense because Nick Foles really popped off coming off the bench. Carson Wentz just is a great quarterback. He's just a little bit prone to injury sometimes. So maybe a backup isn't that, like, if you put it into the context of that, you can kind of see where, okay, we're going to actually invest in a good backup because we know the value of a good backup. We've won a championship because of a backup. So, it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think Jalen Hurts in the second round is a stretch. I had a 3rd round grade on him at best. Now, how do you think the NFL, like, I think, in my opinion, NFL handled this about as best as they could with this virtual draft. There was really no issues. The broadcast was very well received, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think they did as good a job as they could. And for some, like, I cannot stand Goodell, especially as a Patriots fan. I can't stand Goodell. And I mean, you gotta give it to him. He did a pretty all right job on his end too.
Yeah, he was just cringy enough. He was just stately enough. I think it was Goodell at his best, really. And maybe he should just stay at home more often.
Yeah, but it's like, in all things considered, the NFL they did a really good job with this.
Yeah,
with the cameras and all the prospects' houses. With it was very smooth, and the fact that there was, like, we were talking about, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when the technical problems kicked in, and they didn't have any.
Yeah, exactly. And I was joking around with some people on Twitter at Big Game Talk, just about 11-year-old hackers, and link right down there. 11-year-old hackers, and how I said on Twitter, this is going to be the Super Bowl for hackers. And there was no one, like, guy with the V for Vendetta just, like, flash on. I was a bit disappointed about that, but at the same time, I was happy for the NFL and all the broadcast networks doing it, because, man, that would have been a shit show if somebody had managed to get in. I mean, there were probably so many Zoom calls going. Like,
well, and two, just how they had the fans up when Goodell was making a pick. The fact that no fan did something stupid in that little screen, on his TV.
Oh, the vetting system. Like, they ran you through the ringer probably because if Roger Goodell, you have a camera, like, you get videoed into Roger Goodell's house on a national broadcast. Like, the fact, like, they were probably, like, checking your background, checking your social media. Like, man,
I have to wonder if many of those were pre-recorded.
Probably that would make sense too, because, I mean, imagine a Stooley gone on there,
like, especially a Pats fan, Stooley, like they would just rip them.
They would, like, flash something not good or something like that.
Yeah, it honestly,
like, moon Roger Goodell. that would have been something. But overall, everything went pretty well. Now, I will say, when Goodell started sitting down, that was, come on, like, you gotta stand up.
And when he was, like, taking his, like it would cut to him and he'd have one less piece of clothing on.
Yeah, he's like, playing strip draft. Like, I mean, come on, like, sit down in between picks. Like, you literally have 10 minutes to sit down, then you stand up for, like, 20 seconds, announce the pick, and you can go sit down. Like, and then they had him in his armchair, like, it was just, like, sitting back. And I was like, come on, man. Like, come on. And of course, I was saying that from lying down in bed watching, but still, come on.
I don't like him. I think he, like, probably should have kept standing, but it's hard to blame the guy for sitting down in his own house. But he did a few, like, when he shouted out the M&Ms too, that was pretty cringy. When he's like, it seems to be getting lower, and then just put it down. I was like, okay, you sound like a robot.
Yeah. Probably, like, he is part robot, definitely. And Eminem definitely paid him for that.
Oh yeah, Eminem's probably had to pay like $1 million for that.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, most watched NFL draft of all time, and it was good. Now let's just hope that these players can hit the field.
Yeah, that's the big thing, though. I remember saying on the podcast a while ago, if NFL season doesn't happen because of Corona or it's postponed, we have bigger problems than sports not being on. But now it's getting closer and closer, and I'm saying that's a pretty big fucking problem.
And these rookies too, they're not going to have time to get in the building, learn the playbooks and everything, especially like you're looking at the QBs taken. They need time to understand these playbooks. Now they can do it from home, but you got to kind of have interaction with the players and the coaches.
Yeah.
So it really pushes that back a lot. So it's going to be, like, who knows when they can get in for mini camps.
Yeah, who knows?
Or if mini camps even happen, or if it almost just goes like right into full-blown training camp.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be rough. Like, I think, man, this stuff is just such a logistical nightmare for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my cousin about the MLB and like what they're going to have to do with the minor leagues, because with the minor leagues, like if you do a season, the MLB realignment, then you have all these prospects, and it's like you're going to have to, you basically, like, let's say you have one team, like you make double A, triple A, single A, double A, triple A, all one team. You kind of pick the guys that you want to get the most work in. And then that doubles the roster that's going to be at these spring training facilities. Like, it just, I mean, they have practice fields in the spring training facilities, so that's not really the problem. But really, the big problem is just how many people you're dealing with. So it's not just the professional sports that have to consider. It's every sport. Like, so you got the AHL, you got the AAA, all these sports that have minor leagues. You have NBA's D League. They're just like, so it just doubles
the G
everything.
League now. Don't put disrespect on them.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Gatorade League, right?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. Like, it's just a logistical nightmare now. Did you see NHL is talking about July? Apparently,
That's so weird. It's so weird to hear that talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like, and I think like every sport, they're doing their best, but it's just like, it's so weird.
It's very strange.
I mean, it's probably a good time to kick it to the one sport that's doing the best out of anybody. Seems like the UFC. You want to kick it to the interview now?
Yeah. So on the phone, we got Sam Alvey. Here's that interview. Joining us today on Big Game Talk is a UFC fighter with a professional record of 33 wins and 13 losses. He's slated to kick off UFC 249, and his nickname speaks for itself. Smiling Sam Alvey, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, man. So right now you're slated to fight May 9th against Ryan Spann. So first of all, how do you feel about that matchup?
Well, I love the matchup. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. You got two guys that hit pretty hard and do all right with their submissions as well.
Good. Now, what area of his game makes you think that you can beat him?
Well, I'd like to think just about every area of his game, but I think the same thing about most people. Every area, I'm better than most people at most things. I just got to make sure I show up and prove it that day.
That's fair. So there's nothing you really feel like you have to avoid in this fight. It's just go out, put on your best performance, and you think that's enough to beat him, eh?
He's got a hell of a guillotine. I think he's got 16 wins, and it's like 9 of them are by guillotine or something close to that. Mm-hmm. He's a big dude. He's 6'5". He's got like an 81-inch reach. He's a big fella. And me, I was supposed to fight Khalil Roundtree first, and then that fight got canceled. And then it got canceled again. Then I was supposed to fight Ryan Spann, and then that fight got canceled. Now I got Ryan Spann again. So it's been a chaotic month of training, not knowing who I was getting ready for. But he's gonna be a big guy. And like they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
That's awesome. Now, you talked about just all the unpredictability about your training. Like, you don't know who you're going to fight. And also, I mean, you're dealing with all this coronavirus stuff going on. How has the coronavirus affected your training?
It hasn't affected my training at all. I haven't missed a day. I've been working out about twice a day since November. I feel great. My training partners have been plentiful and just getting better with every day.
Have you had to make any adjustments at the gym with all this social distancing stuff, or has it been almost business as usual?
It's been business as usual. I haven't had to teach as many or any kids classes, which I do miss. But as far as training goes, nothing has changed for me.
Now, how are you traveling to Jacksonville for the fight?
I was thinking about walking. I think I get out there next Monday or Tuesday, so something like that. That they'll fly me out there, and then I'll kind of see what happens when I'm there. I'm not really sure what to expect with everything being closed down like it is.
Yeah. Is there any fears about flying with the coronavirus stuff because of how kind of confined a plane would be?
I have zero fears about anything corona related.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so they can fly me they can fly me, they can drive me, they can do whatever. I'll be all right.
And you'll be able to go with your full team, right?
I'll be able to go with everyone that needs to go. Yeah. So my kids, I think, are going to get out there for this. My wife is, my chief corner. She'll be out there. Then I'll have my boxing coach, jiu-jitsu coaches. We'll be out there and ready for action.
That's fair. Now, this fight's been kind of canceled on you a few times. When this fight card was announced, did you go to the UFC wanting to be on this first fight coming out of this quarantine, or did they approach you?
They approached me, and we were kind of expecting it because in the last month I've had 3 fights fall through because of different circumstances. But it was quite hits. But when they finally had something nailed down, they reached out to me and asked if we'd be willing to do it. We said absolutely without hesitation.
Now, how does it feel to be a part of sports history by kicking off the first fight since the shutdown?
I'm so excited about this. This is my 19th fight in the UFC. I have never been the first fight on a card. And now I'm not only the first fight on the card, I am the first athletic endeavor since late February. Nobody has done anything in the entire world in any sport, and I get to be the first one.
Do you feel like this is a big time showcase where you can kind of show off your skills and show yourself to the whole world, really?
Absolutely. I'm going to be able to get out there and I mean, the eyes of the world are going to be on me, and I'm not going to waste the opportunity.
Now, what would you say to somebody criticizing you for the safety factor of taking this fight?
What would I say to him personally or over the internet?
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'd say keep your mind your business, my man. There are plenty of things going on. We're taking every precaution required of us, and that there's little to no danger of anyone involved.
Now, how confident are you and really the UFC overall that this fight card takes place after the last time it was canceled?
We're 100% in. The governor is on board. The mayor is on board. The athletic commission is on board. Everybody's on board with this fight. And on top of that, Florida itself has opened its doors to all sporting events without a crowd.
That's awesome.
So Florida is back in action too.
Now, did you cancel your Disney Plus membership after the last one got canceled?
No. You see, I get it for free. I'm part of Verizon, so I get it free for a year. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, for your MMA career, you've had 46 fights. You said this will be your 19th in the UFC. Is there one fight in particular that stands out as your most memorable or special fight?
Oh. No, the one I remember the best is my first professional loss. It was against Caleb Nelson. I was on, I think, an 11 or 12 fight streak. I was just beating everyone, and I lost to him. And I remember I lost to him. I beat him up. He beat me up. He won the decision. I went into the back. I threw up. And then the very next day, I graduated college. I got to walk across the stage all black and blue.
Wow. That's an awesome story there.
Yeah.
Now,
sorry. Oh, you fought at middleweight, welterweight, and light heavyweight. How has your game had to evolve as you've moved through these different weight classes?
I've also fought heavyweight a couple times.
Wow.
You know what? The evolution, the game plan, it's never really any different. It's just wherever the UFC wants me, I'm happy to go. Mm-hmm. Maybe at 170, I wasn't happy, but I was willing. Mm-hmm. At 185, I could get back there if they need me to, but I'm pretty comfortable at 205.
That's fair. Do you feel like when you go up in weight, you give up some of your speed to gain more power, or do you think you carry the same speed up?
I feel I'm just as fast and powerful every weight class I fought in. I've got knockouts in 4 different weight classes. There's not many people that can say that.
Yeah,
So
that kind of speaks for itself.
I feel just as fast and as strong in every weight class.
Now, you talked about the knockouts. You have 19 career knockouts. Like, when you go into a fight, is that what you're looking for most of the time?
I'm always looking for knockouts. That's what the fans want to see. I want to give the fans what they want, and knockouts tend to be what gets them off their butts the fastest. So I've always had a proclivity to knocking people out. And as long as that's what people want to see, that's what I'm going to keep trying to give them.
Now, you've also had some pretty busy spurts during your career, including a 12-month period where you fought 6 times and 3 times in 3 months. Now, how was your body feeling after that stretch?
I took my bumps and bruises, but that's not even the busiest, year of my career. I had one year I fought 11 times in 12 months. That just wasn't in the UFC. It was working to get to the UFC, I took my bumps and bruises there too. But I was never too injured to do another one. This last year was like, this is the slowest year of my career. I fought once while I was 33, and it's ridiculous. So it's a big layoff for me, and I'm looking forward to breaking this layoff snap.
So you feel better when the busier you are, by the sounds of it.
Absolutely. I'm going to be training no matter what. I might as well get paid for it at the end of it.
Fair enough.
Now, talk about your experience on The Ultimate Fighter. You were the first overall pick to Shane Carwin there.
Yeah, which is great. I wish I wouldn't have flopped out of that show so handedly. But being first pick was great. It was. I mean, how many Ultimate Fighters have there been? 25 of them. There's only 25 people in the history of the planet that have been picked first.
Yeah, on The Ultimate Fighter 2, did the reality TV aspect of it make it difficult?
No, it was just, and people hate this answer, but it was really boring. It was 6 weeks of hanging around fighters and talking about fighting, and you get nothing else to break up the monotony. You're just kind of bored all the time. Then you get to kind of work out once or twice a day, and then you get to be bored again. And it was just, I was very happy when it ended.
Fair enough.
Oh. Now, what got you into MMA in the first place?
I stumbled into MMA. I never meant to do this. So someone said, "Hey, there's a cage. You want to fight in it?" And I said, "Yeah." And then eventually I ended up in the UFC. It's been a long career. I love what I do. There's nothing I would rather do, but I never meant to do this. I didn't grow up watching boxing or watching MMA, or I didn't know what the UFC was until I had 6 or 7 fights as a professional. I was just good at hitting people, and so I kept doing it.
That's
How
awesome.
old were you the first time you stepped into the gym for MMA?
22. I think my first fight was 21. First time I trained at all, I was probably 22.
Wow.
What was that first fight look like? You hadn't trained.
Yeah, I think the guy's name was Eldritch, John Eldritch, something Eldritch. Yeah, I don't know. I just stepped in, and I never knew there was training for it. It's just, the movies make it look so easy, so I figured I'd go in and do that. I knocked him out real well. I knocked him down real quick, and then I didn't know the rules, and so I, celebrated. Then he got back up and beat me up. But it was a good first round. And then after that, I just kept going, and I think it was like 11 or 12 fights in a row. I won or knocked him out in. I turned pro somewhere in there. Still wasn't training. It was probably just before my first loss as a professional, before I actually started training.
Wow. Now, what
So
advice?
safe to say you're almost like a natural if you were able to do so well without the training originally.
Yeah, it was a different sport back then. Back then, it really was whoever was the toughest kind of one. Nowadays, I don't know if I'd have the same luck just stepping into a cage. But no, I always hit hard. I don't know where that came from, and I've always been able to take a punch. So I've got a couple things genetically correct with me.
Fair enough.
Now, what advice would you give to the young athlete looking to get into MMA?
If you're real good at baseball, play baseball instead. That would be my best advice. But if your MMA is where you're at, wrestle. Find a team to wrestle with. MMA wrestling is not enough. Find a wrestling team and wrestle.
That's good.
That's fair. And now we have a fan question here, so shout out to Brock. He wanted to know who has the hardest punch of anybody that you fought so far.
I think Nate Marquardt. I mean, outside of Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson, hands down, there's not a close second. But I've never actually fought him. I've only sparred with him.
Okay.
In the actual octagon, it was probably Nate Marquardt. I've been hit before. I've been finished twice, but both of those finishes, I wasn't really hit that hard. It was just a bad stoppage kind of thing. Nate Marquardt hit me, and it shook my life for a couple of weeks.
Fair enough.
Wow. Now, we see on your record that you have won no contest because of rainfall. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so I back in Wisconsin, I used to fight for King of the Cage all the time up at Lake of the Torches Casino, which is way up north in Wisconsin. So we went up there, and they had this big outdoor arena kind of thing, and I was supposed to fight Paul Bradley. And during the co-main event, it started raining. So I was like, oh, okay. The promoter came up and said, hey, if you guys fight anyways, it'll be a no contest, but we'll give the winner an extra $1,000. So I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So we went out there, and round one, it was just pouring on us. We were soaked. The mat was soaked. We couldn't stand up. He came in, I hit him, he fell over, then I fell over, and then he scrambled on. We just spent one round kind of slip and sliding all around. At the end of round one, the promoter, I guess, it wasn't the promoter, but the Indian Casino sports guy, he came in and put a stop to it. He said, no, okay, you guys are done. You guys are going to get, really hurt through the water. We'll split the $1,000. Yeah, so Paul Bradley and I made an extra $500 getting roll around in the rain. It was like a movie scene. It was just downpouring, and it was pretty cool.
That's an awesome story. Yeah, well, we really appreciate you coming on here. We want to wish you good luck on your fight May 9th. We hope it happens. We're sounds pretty confident that's going to happen, and we hope you put on a great showcase.
Hey, I appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. And next time I'm on, I'll make sure I have video. I'm sorry I don't this time.
No worries, man. Yeah, sounds good, man. Have a good weekend.
All right, we'll talk to you later, fellas.
Once again, we'd like to thank Sam Alvey for taking his time out of his day to come on the podcast. It was really interesting to talk to him, especially about how he's dealt with the coronavirus and about this new fight coming up and kind of the weird circumstances surrounding it. We'd also like to thank Phoenix Fit, as this interview was brought to you by Phoenix Fit. I'll tell you a little bit about them. They're formulated by athletes for athletes. Their mission is to provide fuel for greatness. They're built for strength, engineered for endurance, and designed for recovery. Their supplements provide the necessary fuel to help you rise from the ashes. And every time a purchase is made at phoenixfit.com, that's spelled FNXFit.com, a child in need receives 1 gallon of clean water. To date, they've donated over 103,825 gallons of clean drinking water. So check right below here.
Not below Brad, below me.
And if you're listening on the podcast, check out either our Instagram for the link or in the bio for the podcast. You'll find the link there. Make sure to use our promo code BGT15 for 15% off your purchase, and let us know what you think of the product. And if you have any questions, hit us up. We'll be happy to tell you about them.
Yeah, and one thing from that interview, how cool was that rain out story? When I saw it,
I was not expecting that. That was super cool.
And when we were looking through his record, and I think you saw rain out, I was like, there's got to be a story behind that. So I'm glad we asked that question. Really great. And thank you again to Brock for his fan question. That was excellent.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate it, Brock.
Love you, Brock. And say hi to Bryce for us. Anyways, let's move on into the UFC stuff. So UFC 249 is happening May 8th, as everybody knows. We're going to go
May 9th. Apparently you don't know.
Okay, so let's start that again. May 9th, UFC 249, it's going to be the event of the year, I think, just with all these fights. It's going to be so good. And just with, like, we haven't seen live sports in so long. It's going to be – I'm just so hyped for this.
Yeah.
And they're really delivering. And, I mean, according to Sam Alvey, this stuff is locked and loaded. It is happening.
Yeah.
So we're going to be hitting you next week with some more in-depth coverage where I think we're going to go through each of the fights and just kind of give our thoughts and our predictions. What are you most excited about, though? Just a quick flyover. What fights are you looking forward to, Brad?
So for me, I think it's pretty chalk to sit here and say Ferguson Gaethje is what I'm most excited about. Looking at this, though, Donald Cerrone versus Anthony Pettis is the one I'm most excited about. I mean, Cowboy Cerrone is one of my favorite fighters, so I'm obviously going to be excited every time he fights. But like him versus Pettis, I think they're going to absolutely throw down. They're doing it at welterweight, which is the best decision for the both of them. Because they can both make lightweight, but they should probably stick to welterweight.
And taking a fight on short notice, it's really a good thing. It's if you want an athletic performance from them, you got to ask for it at welterweight. These guys going to throw down. Cerrone's got a lot to prove after a quick loss to Conor McGregor. Hopefully Stephen A. Smith is not in the building, or else
if Stephen A. Smith trips Cerrone again, oh man, I lost so much respect for Stephen A. Smith when he did that.
Yeah, no, it's just really a shame, and it's really stupid, his commentary. So I think, and a lot of people subscribe to Stephen A. Smith's beliefs on stuff, right? You got a lot of fans.
I will say though, if you, and now for people that don't know, like back when Stephen A. Smith, he essentially, I can't remember the exact quote, but he pretty much said that Cerrone gave up. It was disgusting. Like he just went at him. If you agree with Stephen A. Smith, stop listening to this podcast.
Well, okay, here's what I'm saying though. This is why I think there's a lot of non-MMA fans that tune in to Cerrone versus Conor, because that's anytime Conor fights, they watch, right? So there's a lot of fans, a lot of outside the sport fans watching, and they see Stephen A. Smith, a guy that's pretty competent on, let's say you're a basketball fan, you're watching this because it's Conor McGregor in the ring, and you're listening to Stephen, you don't understand the kind of hierarchy of knowledge between Joe Rogan and Stephen A. Smith. You listen to Stephen A. Smith, you watch him on Twitter talking tough, showing, wow, he can punch and shit, like, wow. And then you tune into this fight because there's no other sports on TV, so it's going to attract a lot of those fans that were attracted to the Conor Cerrone fight. So you hear that, and then you see Cerrone in the ring again, and you say, okay, I don't know anything, but I want to sound like I know something, so I'm going to go back to what Stephen A. Smith said. So you're going to be hearing a lot of that same stuff, I think.
And I'll say again, if you agree with what Stephen A. Smith said about Donald Cerrone, quit listening to this podcast and don't ever click it again.
We're burning tons of bridges today, eh?
Well, no, because if you agree, you're absolutely a moron, and I don't want you listening to my podcast.
All right,
I'm excited to see too about how they do with the no fans and kind of the atmosphere and like the type of building they're in too.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see that.
Couple fights I'm looking forward to. First of all, Yohan De Castro. I hope he just decks Greg Hardy.
Yeah, facts. Don't even say his name right. Don't give him the respect.
Yeah, don't even Hardy. I'm gonna call you Greg Hardy the rest of my life. And Ryan Spann versus Sam Alvey. We just had Alvey on. It's sports history, ladies and gentlemen. Sports history. Like, we have never had a sports shutdown like this, and now smiling Sam Alvey is going to beckon in a whole new era of sports, basically. It's like sports is going to be remembered before coronavirus shutdown and after coronavirus shutdown. This is going to change everything. And Sam Alvey is the one to beckon in this new age. Like, think about that. This is unbelievable. Sam Alvey and Ryan Spann have an opportunity unlike anybody has ever had in the history of sports. Going back to like the Greeks who had the first Olympics or whatever. This is going to be up there historical significance with that. And I can't believe it. I'm so happy for Sam Alvey. Couldn't come to a more deserving person.
So when Sam Alvey's getting his hand raised, we're going to be cheering real loud.
We're looking forward to this fight. And that's pretty much the flyover. Of course, I mean, it goes without saying there's 2 belts on the line that night, which is huge.
Of course.
And yeah, it's going to be a great night. We're going to cover it more in depth next week.
For sure. And now the next thing kind of wanted to talk about is it's been going around the internet a lot lately, the All In Challenge that it's set up by Michael Rubin, who he's the owner of fanatics.com, and I believe he's the owner of the 76ers as well. So he challenged people in the sports world to either put in a prized possession or auction off like sports experiences. And if you haven't checked it out, go to allinchallenge.com. There's some amazing things, and 100% of the proceeds are going towards helping give food to people who are in need because of coronavirus related stuff. And we have, or me, not you, Chris, have put in for the ultimate sports fan experience, which I mean, this one is, and everybody should get in on. You get tickets, you get a suite at the Super Bowl for you and 20 friends, and you get 2 tickets to every other sports championship. And by every other sports championship, literally mean every other sports championship, like World Series, Final Four, NBA Finals, NHL Finals, Masters, Daytona 500, goes on and on and on. And then the other one that was really cool is what the UFC did, where you're going to get to go out, you're going to spend some time with Dana White, Halle Berry. You're going to get in a suite at a fight in Vegas with Halle Berry. You get to train with Forrest Griffin, Valentina Shevchenko. You get to be in a matchmaker's meeting and help make a fight, and a bunch of other stuff. You get you get memorabilia. You get every replica belt. Like super cool, super cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in on them. So if we win them, Big Game Talks, and you're getting some big game experience.
Yeah.
So
you better believe we're filming everything.
Yeah.
Blow up.
So everybody check those things out. Maybe don't put in for those ones because we want to win it, but look at the other ones. Like there's a bunch of other really cool experiences that people can buy. It goes to a great cause.
Yeah. And just imagine, usually contests give you 2 tickets, one for the winner and a friend. And that's what the like every other sporting event one, like that World Series, all Masters, NBA Finals, all that, you get 2 tickets. Pretty standard fare. But Super Bowl, 20 other people.
And also too, I completely forgot to say, you get a $100,000 gift card to fanatics.com with that one too.
Man, you throw in an extra 40 grand and you have a signed Ty Cobb bat.
No, but just like a $100,000 gift card. Like,
yeah.
And they have everything, like sports memorabilia, like gear and everything. Like Chris could get his Andrew Thomas jersey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be nice. Thomas the Tank Engine. Choo, motherfucker.
Man, it's gonna be cool. You have to, just so we get the explicit tag on Spotify and iTunes, eh?
Yeah.
You gotta throw that in there.
Hey, you gotta.
You got to. And now, so yeah, make sure you check that out. That was it. Allinchallenge.com. Great cause. And you want to kick it to the sports hypothetical?
Let's kick it to the sports hypothetical. So this one is, if you had a time machine and you could go back to any sports game or sporting event from before you were born, what would it be?
I mean, this is a tough one. I went kind of back and forth on it. Like I think my things would be either like the 72 Summit Series, Canada, Russia, to see one of those games, or the Bobby Orr when he won the Stanley Cup, when that kind of that goal, that the picture that everybody knows where he scored the overtime winning goal and then he got tripped and he was soaring through the air. I think that game's the one I'd probably go back to be able to see Bobby Orr play live. Would be amazing. Like in many people's opinions, the greatest hockey player of all time. My opinion, like from what I've heard and like the little bits I've seen, so be able to see him live at that time, I think would be just amazing. And then like the only other thing I could think of, maybe the 92 Joe Carter, or sort of 93 Joe Carter walk off. I think that would be pretty sweet. But I think I have to go with Bobby Orr's overtime winning goal in the Stanley Cup Finals. What about you?
I think mine is Game 6 of the 86 World Series. Mets were down 3-2 in the series, and they were about to lose when Bill Buckner, MVP for the Mets, though he played for the Red Sox, lets a dribbler go right through his legs. Ray Knight scores, and the Mets win the ball game. That's one of probably the most exciting moment in Mets history. And of course, the most exciting Mets moment is an error on the other team, because that's how the Mets get their breaks. So that really would be so special to go see. Other than that, any game that Doc Gooden pitched or Tom Seaver pitched, that would be also an absolute treat to go back and see.
For sure.
Look at those pieces of Mets history right there.
And now that's a good choice. And so we had an idea too for these sports hypotheticals. I think we're going to start running them kind of weekly. We've touched on them a little bit in the past. We did one last week. So I think we're going to get these going weekly. Now, we want to know what you guys think about having a Phoenix Fit Fan of the Week. So we'll put out a sports hypothetical. We'll do an Instagram story for it, and you can have input into it. So we'll put out the hypothetical before the podcast. You'll have a chance to input what your answer to the hypothetical will be. And the best answer will get a chance to become on the podcast. So you can either come on the podcast, give it live, or we'll read out your answer and we'll shout you out on the podcast. So let us know what you guys think of that. I think we'll get it running this week. We'll post probably midweek, and we'll give it till, it's got the 24-hour limit, and whoever gives the best answer, and we'll see how it goes. I think it's kind of exciting for people. They get to give their input and everything, right?
Yeah, I think it's great a chance, and you get to be featured on the number one sports podcast in the world.
Yeah. So I think we'll get that going this week. We'll think of a good hypothetical and let you guys know.
Yeah, and I think that's all she wrote on today's episode of the pod. We'd like to thank Sam Alvey again for coming on the show. It was a real treat to be able to talk to him, and we wish him luck in his upcoming fight against Ryan Spann. And draft news, it was a lot of fun. And now, if you want to find more content, you go over to YouTube, or maybe you're already on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit like, and check out all our sports content. If you're here for the UFC interviews, we got one with Scott Holtzman, Hot Sauce Holtzman. You can find that on our YouTube channel, or an interview with Eric Anders. Really two great interviews, if that's what you're into. Now, you can find us on Instagram at Big Game Talk, Twitter at Big Game Talk. Send us an email us at biggametalk@gmail.com. And with that email, you can send us an email. Tell us who our favorite NASCAR driver is. If you've been watching the show, you should be able to come up with that. No problem. We'll send you $5. So that contest is still going.
This challenge has been outstanding for 3 weeks.
Come on, guys. Come on. Like, somebody come up with it. Yeah. And then just have a great day and stay safe out there. It's coronavirus. Things going crazy. All you guys out in Corona land, wash your hands, be safe, and have a good week.
We'll see you next week.